Hey guys, welcome back. And today we are going to be talking about instant funded accounts and the catch they won't tell you about. So, what are instant funded accounts? We know prop firms. Prop firms come out with challenges that you pay for and they give you the ability to trade with a specific amount of money. Being that if you reach the profit target, you are eligible to trade with that amount and get a percentage back in terms of withdrawals. But with an instant funded account, you immediately skip over the challenges and you automatically become funded. In other words, they give you a specific amount of money to trade with. And if you do make profit on that challenge, or on that account, you are eligible for a withdrawal of a specific percentage. So now one would ask themselves, what's the point of taking challenges when you can just instantly be funded with instant funded accounts? That's the question we're going to answer in this video. So right here we have Goat Funded Trader, and as you can see, this is a very well-known prop firm, and here they are asking to choose your best account. In other words, you have an instant account, a one-step account, two-step and three-step. A one-step means just a one-step challenge that you have to pass through. Two-step, two challenges. Three-step, three challenges. And the profit target varies. On the one-step, you have to achieve a target of 10%. On the two-step, you have to achieve 8% and then 6%. And then on the three-step, you have to achieve 6% and 6% and then a further 6% before you become funded with them in terms of that particular account. But if you notice, with the instant account, there are no profit targets whatsoever. Right there, they say no minimum target. So, what is the essence behind challenges if you can instantly become funded without having to go through the turmoils, the emotional roller coasters of a challenge or several challenges? Now, if you notice, on the 5K inside account, you're going to be paying $79, but this is a discount. You originally are going to be paying $198 for a $5,000 account. If we compare that to the 5K on the two-step challenge, you realize the drastic price difference. You're only paying $17 or $30 without a discount for a two-step account. In other words, with the instant account, you get to pay premium for skipping over those challenges. So, in other words, you're paying big bucks to skip those challenges. That's just the first hurdle. That is nowhere beginning to, cover everything we are going to talk about in this video. Now, in the instant account, you see that you have a daily drawdown of 4%, maximum drawdown of 8%. That correlates also with this two-step account, whereby you have a daily drawdown of 4% and 10%. It ranges, but it's not too drastic to be an issue. Where it becomes an issue is the type of drawdown. There are two types of drawdown. You have static drawdown and you have trailing drawdown. Static drawdown is a kind of drawdown whereby your drawdown remains 8%. No matter how much profit you end up making, your drawdown stays at 8%. In other words, for you to lose the account, your account balance needs to go below 8% of the account. But for most instant funded accounts, your drawdown is trailing. In other words, as you make profits, the maximum drawdown you have reduces. It trails back up to your starting account balance. Now, for Goat Funded, it doesn't trail it doesn't lock in at your starting account balance depending on the type of instant account you used. Mind you, I have done a review of the Goat Funded instant account in my prior video. I will link it in this video so you can go watch that for yourself. But for the Goat Funded account, if you're trading the standard, the drawdown locks in at 4%. In other words, you have to make 4% profit and the maximum drawdown locks in at minus 4%. That's the only way you can lose the account. But for the instant GOAT, this this does not lock in at anywhere. This keeps on going upwards. In other words, if you make 10% in profit, your drawdown is now into your profit at 3%. So your difference is always going to remain 6%. But if you have a losing streak, that is where it becomes dangerous. The only thing that I do like about the GOAT instant account, again, you can watch the video, is that once you do request a payout, your drawdown resets back to 6%. So that is the one thing I do like about the instant accounts with the GOAT funded. So this shows you the issues facing instant accounts, but it doesn't just stop there. We have Blue Guardian. They are also a great prop firm. Again, please, I am not sponsored by any of these prop firms whatsoever, but they have an instant account as well. And if you notice, the same thing happens here. If you compare the 5K instant account compared to their two-step instant account, you see the price difference. The 5K goes for $76, while for the two-step, they don't have a 5K, but their 10K goes for $67, which is cheaper than the 5K or for the instant account. In other words, you're paying a premium for less amount of money. You're paying a premium for less amount of money in terms of the account value you're being given. But again, with the instant, you skip the challenge. And that is the driving factor here. You skip having to be to go through the turmoils of a challenge, to pass the challenge, and then hope to become funded. You just become funded. But then again, you deal with something called a consistency rule. This, again, you can pause this video, but I have also talked about Blue Guardian. I will attach the video to this one as well. In my prior video, I've talked about Blue Guardian's instant account, but in their instant account, you need to have a consistency ratio of 15%. In other words, no profit on a particular day can account for more than 15% of your total balance. In other words, if on a particular day you make a profit of 3%, risking 0.5%, that's huge, right? That's huge. But then again, you cannot withdraw because of the fact that your consistency will be off. So in other words, you need to make a certain percentage profit every single day so that one particular day does not account for more than 15% of your account. In other words, if you're going to make a profit of $100 on a 10K account, you need to make $100 6 times, back to back to back to back to back. You can have losses, of course, but your profit level needs to be at 100. Your profit cap needs to be $100 so that your consistency doesn't increase. If your consistency goes above 15%, you'll be ineligible for a payout. And that is a big issue when it comes to instant funded accounts. So again, you also have minimum trading days. You have to make a minimum of 0.5% on your account for it to even count. And some prop firms have minimum and maximum trading days. In other words, you need to have 5 or 6 minimum trading days. For Blue Guardian here, you can see that we have a minimum trading day period of 5 days on all phases. In other words, you need to make 0.5% or more for 5 straight days to be eligible for a payout. Then again, you have trade risk limits. Some prop firms limit the amount of the percentage risk you can take per trade on the account. For example, Blue Guardian here has what's called Guardian Shield. And in other words, if your P&L on open trades reaches a 1% loss of initial account balance, it's a soft breach and your drawdown will be cut by 50%. Again, I've spoken about this in a prior video. You can go watch it. but again, your profit split will be reduced by 50%. So in other words, you can only risk 1% per trade. Now, does this consider, or does this have to do with anything in particular concerning scaling? I have no clue. But when it comes to your trade risk limit, you can only risk up to 1%. So that is something that you should also take note of. And if you notice, with an instant foreign account, you have all these rules you need to stick by. You have all these specifications and guidelines you need to stick by, or else you'll be unable to withdraw from these accounts. And these are the catch when it comes to instant funded accounts. These are the issues why most people tend to prefer going through the challenges than going through being instantly funded. Now, is that a reason why you should forget about them in totality and focus only on challenges? Not really. They do provide the benefit of being instantly funded and trading with money from the onset. Now, most prop firms use demo accounts, but those funds, when withdrawn, are real cash. So, is this a total no for instant fund accounts? That depends on you and your preference and your trading style, your trading habits. If you feel like the rules are too restrictive for you, then all power to you. Go for the 1-step, 2-step, 3-step accounts. But if you feel that the instant account is what's right for you, you want to be funded immediately, you're willing to spend $517 for a 100K account compared to the $268 for the challenge account, that's all good. You can go for that as well, and you will be instantly funded. So let me know what you think about this in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.